Welcome back, Guardians. And I'm going to be touching upon a subject I briefly mentioned back with Eris Morn. If you want to go see that video, it's down in the description below. But what I briefly said was something about the Concordat. And I expect not a lot of you would know who or what the Concordat was. It's just a name and you expect it to be a group. But what they actually were was they were another faction. You see, back in the City Age, after the faction wars, the Concordat were in the place of the now future war cult. They're not the same. They're completely different. But the future war cult was not there, and it was the New Monarchy, Dead Orbit, and Concordat. And these three factions made up what they called the Consensus, which the speaker is head of. One of the things about the Concordat was, unlike New Monarchy and Dead Orbit, Concordat didn't really have a central ideology. New Monarchy had their own, Dead Orbit had their own, Future War Cult even has their own. But the Concordat was just kind of there. They did their own thing without any real objective or real motive. They were just a faction. Now, there is a leader of this faction, and his name was Lysander. And the main reason of this video is to explain to you why the Concordat is not there anymore. And that is because the Concordat decided to devise a coup against the Consensus. This kind of makes me want to think about the Concordat as not being that smart, because the Future War Cult in Dead Orbit and the Vanguard, who was also partially in the Consensus, could easily destroy any faction, whether it was the New Monarchy going up against the Consensus or any other place. I don't know why the Concordat thought that, unless they were this much greater faction than that we know of. Maybe the Concordat was 3 times the size of Dead Orbit, or 3 times the size of New Monarchy, but that's just speculation. So if you put two pieces together, you'll realize that the Concordat's not there, and they decided to do a coup to overthrow them, overthrow Consensus. And they're not here, so they lost. Now, if you play Crucible, you'll recognize the Bannerfall map. And if you look around, actually, without just putting your head down and destroying the other Guardians, you'll realize that there are a couple banners that are green scattered about the entire map. And if you look at the logo, you won't recognize it, but now you will, because that's the Concordat's logo. Bannerfall was the last place that the Concordat stood during their rebellion. Even after the Concordat was absolutely destroyed, it was believed that Lysander even refused calls to disband the faction. He was going to continue his crusade. And through this, the Consensus unanimously voted out the Concordat of the factions and brought into the Future War Cult. And in one of the Grimoire cards, it's actually the conversation during the Consensus that shows their thought process during this. I'm going to have a picture of two Guardians talking back and forth because it's really hard to tell who's talking during this. There is no audio cue that tells you that the next person is talking. They talk both exactly the same. So this is just reference for who's talking. I don't even know if they're actually Guardians, they could be ghosts. But here we go. And so it is agreed, the Concordat shall no longer be recognized among the Consensus. We'll begin dismantling right away. But what of those Guardians who have pledged to them? We can't afford any more banishments. I'm sure Zavala can see to their realignment. We'll do our best. Lysander chose his followers wisely. It may take some time. Lysander will not back down. He'll continue his crusade from wherever he stuff him. So we'll need to find some new ideas to replace his. The Symmetry has been gaining a strong following. Ulantan's teachings are too dangerous. Too much fear. Who knew he'd be more trouble dead than alive? We'll need to refocus our collective minds on the combat. The speaker's anxious to regain ground we lost after the gap. There is the War Cult. Too secretive. Have you ever tried to talk to one of their soldiers like a child, answering questions with questions? They are dedicated to war. Which one? Good question. Zavala? They seem focused, strong, more interesting than worrisome. Let's take it to a vote. All in favor of ascension of War Cult? Unanimous. Good. We'll grant the Future War Cult access to the tower and a seat among us ghost. Please offer the speaker this proposal. Now on to the next order of business. Shax here with another proposal of the Crucible. That was just a small clip of that meeting. As you can tell, Shax came up and decided to, talk about something he needed to confront. As you already know, these factions have their own ideals, and the Concordat could probably be anarchy. They decided to overthrow a government and probably not replace the government with anything. They probably just wanted everyone to be free, and I think that's where their ideal was, because they didn't have an ideal. So maybe it was just nothing. Anarchy. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Destiny's got some interesting lore, and next time you play on Bannerfall, make sure to look around. You'll see those green banners hanging around, and that's when you realize, hey, that was Concordat. This faction that was thrown out of the consensus because they tried to overthrow them and failed. Maybe if you look around the map, you'll find some dead bodies. Probably not. That's been it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later, Guardians.